Christmas time's coming. Christmas time's coming.
He thinks he's embarrassing me, but I'm leaving that in there.
I'm a good singer. Go ahead.
Come on, sing it for us.
Yeah, that's all I'm getting. That's all you're getting.
Hey, it's the preacher. And I know what you're thinking. What does that shirt say? Aren't you a preacher? It says alcohol, tobacco, and firearms should be a convenience store, not a government agency. And I agree with that. Government overreach has become quite a problem over the last few years. But today, we're going to solve the world's problems and try to make goose sausage. Now, Canada geese is one of those birds that you just don't really want to eat them. They're fun to shoot, but they are not fun to eat. And I know what you ought to wrap it in bacon, put a pepper in it. Look, you could wrap anything in bacon, put a pepper in it, and make it edible. But if that's the only way you can get goose down, there's got to be a better way. And so I've heard people say, oh, goose tacos, goose jerky. I've tried all that, and I'm not crazy about it. So I'm going to try something that I've never tried before, but I think would work because it solves the goose's two big problems. Number one, the lack of fat. Now, I understand farm-raised geese have a whole lot more fat on them than wild geese. These things have been flying back and forth from the Canada to Arkansas, and they don't have a lot of fat on the bone. So we're going to solve that problem by making sausage. Here I have 3 different kinds of fat. I have some bacon. This is leftover out of a package of bacon that I used last night. I have some pork fat that I trimmed off some pork butts that I was smoking a couple months ago. And then I have some beef ribs, and on the beef ribs are lots and lots of fat. And so what you're going to need when you're doing any kind of sausage is you need a good set of scales, because you need to match the amount of fat and the amount of meat properly, and you need at least 20% to make sausage. So I have 5.5 pounds of goose breast cut into long skinny strips. I also have a couple of thighs in there. This is basically two geeses that I breasted out, and then I cut the legs and thighs off one and deboned them. The pork fat. So this is 5.5 pounds. This is 2.5 pounds. And so that's going to give me more than the 20-80 mix to make sausage. Now, the reason you need to know those weights is because you're going to need a sausage seasoning. What I have here is Rio seasoning, and this is what I use for sausage. So each sausage package is different. You need to match the amount of seasoning to the amount of meat. Then if you want to alter it or kick it up a notch, you're going to need something here. I've got red cayenne pepper. This is my own pepper that I grew in the garden. So I'm not going to add all this at first. I'm going to add probably half, and then try it, and if it needs more, I'll add more. So since we're adding probably 1.5 ounces of cayenne pepper, I'm going to be wearing rubber gloves. One other thing about making goose sausage or duck sausage, you need to check for shot. This is a steel BB because waterfowl requires steel shot. It's not lead. You could run lead through a grinder and it would just kind of grind it. You run steel through a grinder and stuff gets broken. So we've done all the prep work. Everything's cut into strips. Now it's time to mix it and season it and run it through the grinder, and that's what we're going to do now. One thing I will say about running grinder and grinding meat is it's always best to have your meat as cold as possible. And with fats like this, you really want them about half frozen or 3/4 frozen. And so you only take these out of the freezer right when you're ready to grind them. Now that we've got all the meat in there, here's where I add the seasoning. Now I've seen a lot of people do this, and they will run it all through on a rough grind at first, and then they will add their seasoning and then run it all through again. And I just have never really needed, I've made a lot of sausage, and I've been around a lot of sausage makers, and I don't really think it's necessary as long as you get a good coating on there. This is the exact measurement for the exact amount of meat that I have for Rio sausage seasoning. And so I'm just going to coat this meat with the seasoning. I'll put a little bit in there and we'll stir it. That was about half. Here's the other half. Now I'm going to add some of the cayenne pepper. That's probably 3/4 of an ounce of cayenne pepper. And you got to keep in mind, after you run it through the grinder, you can mix it again with your hands in another bowl. Now, how long do you mix it? I just go till everything looks like it's got seasoning on it. When I quit seeing pieces of meat that aren't well coated in sausage seasoning, I quit. And right now, occasionally I'll kind of see one that looks like he's new to the party, and I'll welcome him in. That smells like spicy goose. Probably going to need a little more of this. Goose is one of those things you really don't want to taste it. You really want to cover it up. You want something else to take over and dominate it. All right, let's scoot this over a little bit. I'll turn you guys on to music while I run this through the grinder. So here we go. Let me transfer this back over into this wider bowl. But as you can see, there's some dark and some fat and some dark and some fat and some dark and some fat, which is what you want for sausage. So we're just going to give it a good old stir. I'm just picking it up with my hands, and I'm opening my hands up, and just some of it's going to the bottom, some of it's staying on the top. I'm going to do this kind of like kneading bread dough. I'm going to do this a few times till it all looks pretty much the same. Not till it's mush, but till I don't see any really dark red spots or really bright white spots. Till there's no big lumps of fat and no big chunks of meat. That's pretty well mixed. Now we need to cook a piece of it. And here's why. Everything's all in one big container. If we need more seasoning, or we need more heat, or we need salt, or whatever it is we think we need, we can add it now and add it to the whole batch. If we bag it right now without trying it, we could be bagging up, say, 8 or 9 different bags, and they all be weak in seasoning. So let me get a skillet out, and I'll cook a little piece and we'll try it. And we may just want to throw the whole thing away. It is goose after all. All right, let me bring you over here close and give you a look at what we're dealing with. You see there's some little pieces of fat, little pieces of meat. They're all kind of blended in together. We're just going to make a patty. Just going to grab a clump of it, make a patty, and cook it. Let's see what we got. Well, it looks like a piece of sausage. Let's just pray that it tastes like a piece of sausage and not like a piece of a goose. Maybe if we close our eyes, hold the goose on our plate, click our heels together 3 times, and say 3 times, please don't taste like goose, please don't taste like goose, please don't taste like goose, maybe it won't. By cracky, I think we got it. I used about half of the cayenne pepper, and it's not hot. You can taste a little bit of cayenne, but I mean, it's not like, ooh, that's hot sausage. I could put all that in there and it wouldn't be hot. Honestly, folks, that's probably the best goose I've ever had that wasn't wrapped in bacon, stuffed with cream cheese and a jalapeno. I mean, I would eat that every morning for breakfast. Let's go get a second opinion. Alright, this is goose sausage. Cut it in half. Let's take a little bit of it and see what you think. Hang on. That's the fork I've been stirring cayenne with. You don't want that. You'll just taste pepper. Alright, just take a bite.
Okay. I couldn't tell you. It tastes like duck or goose or whatever that is.
That's what I thought.
As if anything, it tastes like deer sausage.
Yeah, it doesn't taste like store-bought. You know it's not just straight up pork. But it doesn't have that livery goose taste at all.
Have that?
You can have it. He wanted the last bite.
I'm going to let you look before.
Nice try. It's orange from cayenne. Alright.
Get you a sniff.
There you have it. What are you, Gen Z?
Yeah, non-millennial.
Okay. A Gen Zer actually eats goose breakfast sausage. So it's got to be good. Let me show you what I'm using. I use the same sausage mix in all of my sausage videos. And it is Old Fashioned number 8 from Rio Seasoning Company. And they are down in East Texas, Huntsville, Texas to be exact. Rio Spice and Seasoning Incorporated. This is Old Fashioned number 8. This 1 pound bag makes 50 pounds of sausage. Of course, I don't make 50 at a time, but I do make 5 to 10 pounds at a time. That's why you need a scale so you can measure this out and make your cuts. Very, very good. If you're going to make it, use Rio Old Fashioned number 8 and add about 3/4 of an ounce of cayenne pepper, and it won't be too hot. This was about 7 pounds of, it's close to 8 pounds of meat. I think it was 5.5 of goose and 2.5 of the beef, bacon, and pork fat. So, anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video. There you go. Rio Old Fashioned number 8. Get yours right there. I think they have an online